Hi there, I'm Esme Amelia, and I haven't uploaded anything here for a while, but I thought I'd do something a little bit different. A commentary. Now, I've never done one of these before, but honestly this video kind of invites it. The video in question is called Top 10 Games I Hate That Everyone Else Likes by Gamertron, and let's just say the reasoning in this video isn't very good. So let's get started. My first commentary. This should be interesting.
It's odd how this is the one countdown I've been looking forward to and dreading.
That doesn't inspire too much confidence in your video right off the bat, but I digress. Anyway, as a long introduction full of video game clips that I'm gonna skip for the most part.
Now here it is, my top 10 games that I hate but everybody else likes. You've seen these lists before, you've heard of these lists before. These are the video games that get constant praise, constant approval, but I simply don't agree with them. Now, listen to me very carefully. I do not think any of the games listed in this countdown, not a single one of these 10 games, or actually more than 10 I should say, any of the games mentioned in this countdown, I personally do not like.
You do not think any of these games you do not like what? Your script could maybe use a bit of proofreading before you record it.
I am not saying these are bad games. As a matter of fact, every game listed in this countdown is a good quality product.
Remember this for later, guys. Anyway, I'm skipping a little blabbing and then...
But I personally do not like them. They're not to my liking, not to my taste. I don't agree with them, and I can't understand other people who like these games and make them as popular as they are.
Well, it might be nice for you to at least try to understand opposing viewpoints. Anyway, I'm skipping number 10. He basically says that he appreciates the game Minecraft for its merit, and he likes watching other people play it, but when he himself tries to play it, he gets bored.
Number 9. Sonic the Hedgehog. Doesn't matter which Sonic the Hedgehog, just the entire series in general. Now, a majority, about 80, maybe 90% of the Sonic games are good games. However, ever since Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, something happened to the Sonic the Hedgehog fanbase.
Yeah, fan bases can be crazy, but isn't this about games you hate, not fan bases you hate?
Granted, Sonic 06 was an incredibly unpolished, broken product that was not worth anyone's money. But I don't think that's a large enough excuse to excuse the incredibly uninviting fan base.
Sonic 06 also isn't the only Sonic game generally considered bad. Ever heard of Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric, or Sonic R? And besides, again, this is about games you hate, not fan bases you hate.
While the Sonic the Hedgehog games are fine on their own, I cannot bring myself to like them, try them, and just associate myself with the fans of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Are you seriously letting a crazy fan base keep you from enjoying the games? Buddy, that's just sad.
Now, I don't mean to be insulting. If you're a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, good for you. I'm talking about specific fans. I'm talking about the ones that completely obsess with Sonic the Hedgehog.
I love how you just assume that nobody obsessed with Sonic is going to be watching your video.
And the fans who say he hasn't had a good game since Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
It would help your argument if you actually mentioned some good games made since then.
The Sonic the Hedgehog fanbase is just so unappealing. I do not want to associate myself with them.
You don't have to, but you can still enjoy the games. It's not the game's fault that the fanbase is crazy.
There are fans who utterly obsess over Sonic the Hedgehog. They don't play any other video games, they don't talk about any other video games, they watch every single video, view every single piece of content, go to every single Sonic the Hedgehog fan forum, and just obsess with the blue hedgehog.
That's kind of their business, not yours.
And the other half of that extreme fan base isn't too pleasant either. They're snobby, egotistical, who act like they know everything there is to know about Sonic the Hedgehog and that they know what's right for the series. And literally, every other Sonic the Hedgehog game that has come out after Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, the game is over a decade old, and several other Sonic games have come out afterwards. They have said every single Sonic game that came out after that game has been horrible and atrocious.
Well, by that logic, I should stop being a Star Wars fan because of the fans who whine about anything Star Wars related after 1983.
They nitpick, they destroy, they insult these good games.
And meanwhile, you're letting a fan base ruin those, quote, good games for you.
There is literally no pleasing them. So, why should I play a video game series? One, that's for kids, and shouldn't be taken so seriously.
What does being for kids have to do with people getting enjoyment out of taking the game seriously? If they have fun being obsessive with Sonic, then so what?
And two, has an incredibly unappealing fan base full of people who overly obsess over a blue animated hedgehog or hate every single game that has come out in the past decade.
Here's why. Because you enjoy the games.
I feel so sorry for Sonic. He has some of the worst fans.
Yes, we get it. You think the fan base is crazy, but you haven't given a single reason to dislike the games themselves. Well, I'm skipping number 8 too. He was pressured into playing League of Legends by his friends, and he doesn't like the tutorial or that it doesn't have a single-player campaign.
Number 7. Every single Call of Duty that has been released after Modern Warfare 3.
Okay, he blabs about Call of Duty for a long time, and then...
Doesn't matter what anybody else says. All of the Call of Duty games before post-Modern Warfare 3 have been games that take place in a semi-realistic, down-to-earth setting. Present-day setting. It's not science fiction, it's not fantasy, it takes place in the modern day. And in some cases, in the past. In a realistic, relatable, down-to-earth past. Black Ops 2, Call of Duty Ghosts, and the upcoming Advanced Warfare are all science fiction games. There goes what made Call of Duty interesting to me.
Okay, I've never actually played a Call of Duty game, but are you hating on these games just because they're now science fiction?
That it was able to take the modern day shooter, the present day shooter, that is usually cliched, boring, uninteresting, and they were able to make single-player campaigns that were action-packed, kept your attention, and some even had good stories.
Well, a science fiction game can do all that too. I get that it's different from the previous entries, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be bad.
And now they've transformed into typical sci-fi shooters with a Call of Duty paint job, which isn't that good of a paint job. It really just feels like they're throwing whatever they want into the campaigns now. They say they're taking Call of Duty in a new direction. It's really just a cliched, done-before direction. But because Call of Duty, a game series that has been bland and down-to-earth and relatable for so long, now moves into sci-fi, it's somehow revolutionary.
Are you saying sci-fi can't be relatable? Again, I've never played these games, but your argument seems to be boiling down to, is sci-fi, so it's not good anymore. You really could benefit from being more specific in your arguments.
You know what the biggest shame in all this is? I'm one of the very few who only cares about the single players in the Call of Duty games. A majority of people don't even play single player, don't care about single player, probably don't even know that Call of Duty has a single player. They just come to play the bland, uninteresting multiplayer. It's the same multiplayer from game to game. Why do you people want to keep playing the same thing and spending $60 to play the same thing over and over again? Ugh!
Again, that's their business. Why are you being disrespectful? I'm skipping 6. He doesn't like Battlefield 3 because the single-player campaign is bland and the multiplayer campaign doesn't work. I'm also going to skip most of 5 except for this part.
Number 5. Every single Resident Evil game except 6. Now I know this is heresy to every single Resident Evil fan, since every single Resident Evil fan hates Resident Evil 6, even though I really like it, and it is a good quality product, and I wish other people would stop calling it a bad game. It is not a bad game, it is a good quality product, you just don't like it because you're hardcore Resident Evil fans, and it changed a few things.
Yeah, kind of like how you just bitched about Call of Duty now being science fiction.
Number 4. All sports games.
All? So you've played every single sports game ever?
If you like sports games, good for you. If you enjoy them, good for you. But this is my personal opinion. Why would you play a video game that unrealistically portrays a sport when you can actually go out and play the sport?
Some people suck at sports. Some people don't like playing sports. Some people can't play sports.
Yes, I know. Don't misunderstand me. Actually going out to a golf field, soccer field, football stadium.
Are you lecturing us about not playing sports now?
Maybe it costs some money. Maybe it costs some money in gas driving there. Maybe it costs money entering the facilities. With a sports video game, you buy it once, you spend your money once, you can play whenever, and kind of simulate a sport almost whenever you want. But sports games are so boring. You're watching avatars play the sports. What's entertaining about sports and being active is that you are playing the sport, you are being active, you are moving your body, you are participating.
You do know a lot of people like watching sports too, don't you? And you're really starting to sound like you're lecturing us about exercise.
Sports are not sitting on your butt and watching a simulation on a screen about watching a computer animated avatar perform similar movements to the sport. I really don't have anything else to say. Sports games are uninteresting. Why do this? They're hypocritical to what sports are. They're about being active, moving your body, enjoying the activity of performing a sport.
So watching sports on TV is also hypocritical? Is that what you're saying?
Not watching a computer-animated version of the sport. Sports games, to me, are completely uninteresting and a waste of time, and they're hypocritical. So there.
So for number 4, we got a rant about exercise. Wasn't that fun? Anyway, I'm skipping both 3 and 2. He doesn't like Grand Theft Auto or The Sims because they both emulate real life, and the only way to have fun is to, quote, create your own fun by trying to do something silly. And now we get to number 1, which is the reason I decided to make this commentary in the first place. Oh boy, this is a doozy.
And my number 1 video game that I hate but everybody else likes is anything and everything made by Nintendo and Pokemon.
Wow, you've played every single game Nintendo has ever released and you haven't liked any of them? Admittedly, I'm biased since I love Nintendo, but this is going to be just ridiculous.
I don't like Nintendo. I'll make it as simple and as clear as that. I don't like Nintendo. I don't like them for 2 reasons. I don't think Nintendo are horrible people. Just to say, I don't think they're horrible people. I don't think they're a bad company, but I personally do not like them. And it's for these 2 reasons. 1, exclusivity. Every game they make is a Nintendo exclusive. Every game that is Nintendo related is exclusive to their consoles only.
Yeah, and Sony and Microsoft both do the same thing with their consoles. Sure, you can make an argument that maybe console exclusivity should stop, but you can't single out Nintendo as the only ones who do it.
Not once has a Nintendo game been released on the Xbox 360, or the PlayStation, or the PC.
That's because it's simply a good business decision to release games exclusive to their consoles. And again, they aren't the only ones who do this.
I hear that Nintendo actually makes some really great games. Too bad I can't play them.
So let me get this straight. You're saying you hate all Nintendo games without having actually played them? God!
Unless I spend hundreds of dollars on their console.
You need to spend money to buy a game system or computer to play any video game. And by the way, if you do a little digging, you can find reasonably priced used consoles. Just recently I saw a used Wii at GameStop for $50.
Wonderful. Simply wonderful. You don't see Capcom doing this.
Capcom doesn't make consoles.
You don't see Sega doing this.
Sega? Sega? Seriously? Look, even if you're not old enough to remember the console wars of the 90s, you should still know about them. The only reason they don't do it now is because they don't make consoles anymore. Back when Sega did make consoles, guess what? They released exclusive games to their consoles.
They have video games that are on every single platform.
Refer to what I just said.
PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Not Nintendo, it's buy our stuff or you will never be able to play these great games.
Again, Nintendo isn't the only company that does this.
Thanks, Nintendo. Glad to see you've grown up. Oh wait, you haven't. You're still living in the past.
Living in the past? Like I said, Sony and Microsoft both do this too. Get it through your head.
You still living with this insane, simply insane idea to make everything surrounding you exclusive to you.
Again, it's called business. Nintendo makes both games and consoles.
Very smart.
From a business standpoint, it is smart.
Very mature. Second, copy-paste. Copy-paste. Nintendo is infamous, and I'm sure you guys know, you can't deny this. Copy-pasting their games.
Yes, Nintendo's totally the only video game company to milk their most popular franchises.
I'm talking sequel after sequel after sequel of the same franchise over and over again. It's just one Zelda game after another. Just one Mario game after another. Dear God, there are a lot of Mario games.
Yes, but for the most part, they're good games. And Mario's actually several series in one. There's Mario Kart, Mario Party, New Super Mario Bros., Yoshi games, Paper Mario, etc.
One Kirby game after another. It's just the same game franchises over and over and over again. Zelda, Mario, Kirby, Donkey Kong, Metroid. It's just sequel after sequel of the same games. Copy-paste, copy-paste.
There's also Star Fox, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, Fire Emblem, Xenoblade Chronicles, Nintendogs. Yes, they milk their most popular franchises, but they do have others. And besides, they happen to have made some of the most beloved game franchises in history, and for the most part, they are still good games.
Nintendo is so afraid. I don't know why they're so afraid to make a new IP.
Again, they have plenty of franchises besides their most popular ones.
A new game series, make new characters, new stories.
Let me say this again. They do!
Instead, it's copy-paste from the same franchises. How is Nintendo able to release the same games year after year, yet get constant praise?
Because they're good games. Simple as that.
Yet get constant praise from this obsessive, religious-like fan base.
So does the Nintendo fan base get under your skin like the Sonic one?
There's being nostalgic, and then there's being obsessive. People have to realize by now that Nintendo needs to grow up.
Well, that was really mature of you to take a shot at Nintendo fans like that.
People are worried about Nintendo nowadays. They're worried about the state of Nintendo. They worry if it's going to close down like THQ or other video game companies that have been shutting down recently. They're worried about it. And they have good reason to be worried about it. Nintendo refuses to change. it refuses to put their games on any other console but their own. They refuse to make new IPs and just keep making sequel after sequel of the same franchises.
So you've never played a Nintendo game, and yet you know what's best for the company. Okay.
This is why I will never play a single Nintendo game.
You know, a general requirement before saying you hate a game is to play it first.
Nintendo doesn't give me the option or chance to play their games because I have to buy their consoles and their machines to play these so-called great games that get constant praise.
I don't know your financial situation, but judging by this video, it sounds like you're refusing to buy their consoles, not that you can't buy them.
And not only that, Nintendo makes the same games from the same franchises over and over again. I feel sorry for Mario. I feel so sorry for the Mario franchise that it's been exploited and milked to death. There's so many Mario games out there. Which ones do you choose from? How do you know which ones you're going to like and which ones you're not going to? Because so many are remakes, different versions, sequels, prequels to the same games over and over again.
Well, look at reviews and see what looks interesting. Most Mario games can just be picked up and played without having had to have played any others.
That's my rant about Nintendo. That is why I don't like their games.
You haven't played them!
I don't like Nintendo itself. I'm not saying they're a bad company, and I'm not saying they make bad games. I, personally, do not like them.
As a side note, the NES also saved the video game industry back in the 80s, so if it weren't for Nintendo, you might not have any video games to bitch about.
And I don't like Pokemon either. Now, I know Pokemon is a really big franchise with a lot of followers, a lot of fans. I know Pokemon is beloved by many. But I don't like it.
After your last rant, I have to ask this question. Have you actually played Pokemon?
Again, 2 reasons. 1, it's a kid's game.
And what does that have to do with anything?
I am an adult. I don't understand. I don't comprehend. Now, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying you're a weird person, you're a horrible person if you like Pokemon as an adult. And
it actually sounds like you are judging.
But as an adult, Pokemon are kids' games, children's games. I have no interest in playing a children's game.
Hey, remember my question about whether or not you've ever played Pokemon? Sounds like you haven't, meaning you don't actually know whether or not you like it.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying they're bad games in any way, shape, and form. But they do not appeal to me. Pokemon is a children's game, and these children's games do not appeal to me as an adult. Second, Pokemon is the most boring thing ever.
And we should totally trust your word on it, given that you've never played the games, right?
I have never seen something so repetitious, so boring, and so uninteresting. You don't play as the Pokemon.
No, you play as Pokemon trainers. That's kind of the entire point.
You don't participate in the combat. You tell the Pokemon what to do, and they do it, while they stand still facing one another.
It's called turn-based combat, and it's not exclusive to Pokemon. In fact, it's a staple for a lot of RPGs.
I know there's a lot of tactics, I know there's a lot of statistics, but I'd prefer to be in the action, actually see the action, and not watch just a bunch of cartoon monsters slightly tap each other in these unanimated pictures.
You do know that newer Pokemon games actually do have battle animation, right? In fact, that trailer you're showing clips from shows battle animation.
I have zero interest in playing the most repetitious, boring, uninteresting children's game that I have ever known.
Again, if you haven't played it, you don't know that you hate it.
You are not a bad person for liking Pokemon. I have nothing against you. I personally do not like Pokemon. I don't find it interesting, and I cannot comprehend why it has such a large fan base.
Again, that might be because you haven't played it.
And why that fan base is surprisingly comprised mostly of adults.
It's because they like the games. Why is that so hard for you to comprehend?
I think I've pissed off enough people for one video, but hey, you guys like hearing my opinion, and this is my opinion. I don't like these games. I cannot understand their popularity. I simply cannot. But if you like them, good for you. I hold nothing against you. Everybody has the right to their opinion, and they have the right to what they like.
Yes, but when the reasoning behind your opinion is stupid, people are going to rightfully complain. Anyway, that's my first commentary. Hope you enjoyed it. Now excuse me, that vid made me feel like playing some Nintendo games.